Spain's communist, Spain's fascist, Spain's all of these things. So I want to give a shout out to you guys. If you're online, hit the like button, hit the share button. It don't cost you nothing. Make sure you share this, get it out there, okay? And make sure you subscribe, okay? So like, share, subscribe, drop a comment, be part of the conversation. We love to see your comments. I'll do my best to pop the comments up as we go. I believe the camera is good and good for show. So if you can see me, just say, hey, here we go. Give me a flag, give me a thumbs up, give me something. Let's jump into it. So we were just talking about Spain and how they're all corrupt and their whole government is like communist. Okay, and that is a very big problem. Very big problem. Or maybe you'll say that they're socialist, right? Oh, they're socialist. Well, how is that working for them? It's not working out so well. And how are they socialists and they still have a king? You know, that's a whole nother conversation. Okay, but people don't want to have that conversation about Spain. I'm really not going to dig down into Spain right now, even though I really kind of want to, but we'll come back to them in a couple of moments. What I want to start off with is New York State. I want to get into how all of these high temperatures and crazy dust bowls and stuff like that, how all of that has impacted our energy grid. And not a lot of people are talking about that. Just a couple of days ago, we had all of these firestorms, I guess you'd call them, in Canada, where hundreds of fires miraculously started all at one time, magically, across different forests in Canada. Now, I'm not saying that all of the fires were started. I'm just saying that it's very suspicious that hundreds of individual fires just seem to spark off all at one time, right? And then the fire smoke just spread everywhere across our country. And I was like, man, maybe we need to go take over Canada because clearly they don't care about all of their forest fires impacting us. Long story short, I'm not happy with Canada because I still want get back from the War of 1812 when Canada burnt down the White House. Okay, we're not going to forget that, Canada. We're going to get you sooner rather than later. Manifest that destiny all the way to the north, you guys. Go north, young man. So anyway, so Canada had all of these miraculous fires just seem to go off all at the same time. Hundreds of fires, all at the same time. I believe they said it was something like 800 fires kicked off almost simultaneously, which is bananas, right? Like 800, you can't get 800 drones to take off unanimously at one time, right? Like 800 fires just magically kick off, boom. And then all of the smoke comes over to the U.S. Nah, man, you go play in somebody else's face because that's not what we're doing. That isn't miraculous. That isn't an act of God. That is an act of sabotage. That is an act of maliciousness. And then all of the smoke just drifts down into the U.S., clogging up our airways, creating all types of problems in the middle of the time when it's so hot. Now, it hasn't been dry, but it's been very hot. So you make it make sense. Just magically it happened, you know? And that's something that we don't talk about, right? We take it for granted. A couple of people are like, oh, all of a sudden now the forest fires are happening all the time. What do you mean forest fires are happening all the time that are blowing smoke here? That's only happened twice. It's like this year and like a couple of years ago. Like that didn't, and last year, like it's only been going on for like 3 years. My whole life, it has not been going on in New York State. I lived here pretty much my whole life. That has not been something that's going on. And I got people that are 60, 70 years old telling me that never happened. Hey, I see you out there. But that never happened. Okay, that never happened before. Now, all of a sudden, we got all these fires. I mean, you make it make sense, man. You can't explain to me that all of this is just magically, miraculously happening, or, oh, it's their forest management and they're not doing a good job at forest management. No. It's malicious. It's got to be. It's got to be. There's no way that it's not intentional. You know? Like all of that, all at one time, 800 different fires miraculously being sparked off at different points. Come on now, stop. Stop it. Make it make sense, you know? It's bad. And then the smoke and everything and all of that really clogged up all people's lungs and stuff like that, giving them God knows what was in those flames because the flames didn't smell like just burning wood. They smelled like all types of chemicals and all types of other stuff was in there. And it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy, but we can't talk about it. You talk about it and people say, oh, no, that's not happening. That's not, because you guys don't believe that there are villains in the world. You guys just don't believe that there are real, true people that have bad intentions that are out there in the world. Somebody said pushing the rural folks into the city. That's part of the issue. But also, I believe that it's for other things that they're trying to do, like taking the fresh water, as well as, you guys got to look into that. Go look into that, the fresh water issue, and them taking water and making sure that they take over all of these aquifers and all of these rivers and freshwater wetlands and stuff like that, either the government or private companies and corporations. It's really kind of crazy. So look that up when you get a chance. So it's a real serious issue, and we need to have more conversation about that, right? So you got to also ask yourself a question. Could it possibly be clearing the way for some sort of development or something like that? Because how could all of those fires start all at one time? It could be any of these things, or it can be all of these things. A lot of times people see one issue as a bad thing, and I try to explain to them, you can have one bad thing be for multiple purposes, right? Like, it doesn't have to be just for one segmented, independent, specific thing. It can be suiting multiple different purposes. And that's often what a lot of people miss. So when we start to have these conversations about what's going on, I want to talk about now the energy in relation to that and the time period in which it happened. So these forest fires happened when it had been raining, right? Like, it had been raining. Like, I don't know about if Ontario, or was it Quebec? I think it was Ontario, because I saw Ford on the television. Okay, I miss his crackhead brother. I liked him much better than him. Okay, but I saw Ford on the TV, so it's got to be Ontario. But I don't know if it's been raining up there, but over here it's been raining. It's been raining crazy, so there's not all that dry stuff for it to be burning like that. So I got questions, rightfully so. But at the same time, we've got all of this excess heat. And what's been happening in New York State? They've been saying, oh, well, keep your air condition low, even though it's super hot. Well, wait a second. Why do I need to keep my air condition low? Well, they say, oh, you got to keep your air condition low because the grid is being stressed. Well, wait a second. What do you mean that the grid is being stressed? Why is the grid being stressed? Well, the grid is being stressed because they drove everything to electric. And now there is not enough electricity. And it's overpowering the grid because too many people are trying to draw too much at one time. You got the Mayor Mondani, okay, talking about keep your thermostat at 78. It's 120 degrees outside. 78 degrees ain't doing nothing. You can't even get your temperature down to 78, turning your air condition on 78. Whose face are they playing in? It's very, very serious. And as we talk about the severity, we have to talk about the issues on the infrastructure, right? Why is the energy so low in production in New York State? Well, we get some of our energy from Ontario, which had the forest fires. We're not going to talk about that. There's no connection there. Not at all. Of course not. Anyway, so we get some from Pennsylvania. Well, why don't we get our energy from New York State? We know we have one of the biggest deposits of natural gas in the world. Not in the nation, you guys, in the world. But, New York State, in its infinite wisdom, as it pushes us to electricity, even though natural gas creates the majority of our electricity, they decide that they want to shut down drilling and that they want to shut down anything else like nuclear power plants and stuff like that. And then we end up with these warnings of these crazy people on TV like Mondani or like Governor Kathy talking about, oh, don't use your air condition even though you're dying in your house. Make it make sense. Come on now. These people are out here playing in our face over and over and over again. It's ridiculous. So hit that like button, hit the share button, drop a comment. I'll pop your comments up as they're coming in. It don't cost you nothing to hit the like button. And even if you don't have much to say, just drop it a thumbs up or an American flag emoji. All of it helps a lot. So let's carry on. So You know, we've got a large issue in my city with homelessness. And I know some of you guys out there might have an issue with homelessness where you are. The federal government, the U.S. Treasury, and the Housing and Urban Development Department are working in partnership together for some new homeless initiatives, right? So what are these new homeless initiatives? Well, they're working on addressing the issue by changing it from housing first to wraparound services, because that's what homeless people need. They need jobs, they need clothes, they need food, they need all of these other things more than just housing. But you know, in these deep blue cities and these deep blue states, they've been able to run a racket off of just putting all of these housing projects up and putting all this money funneling it into housing and development, where we never really see these things come to fruition. We see these buildings get built. They're made roughly of what do you call it? The stuff that you make a piñata out of, paper mache, right? Like the walls are so thin, the walls are paper thin. Poof, you know, like it's crazy, right? Then you get all these developers. It's the same 5 developers developing all the development sites. Then they're building these things. They're $500,000 a unit. Okay, talking about housing first. Then they're talking about the units are affordable. What do you mean the units are affordable? You just spent $500,000 to build a unit. The houses in the area, even though they're all up in price and stuff like that, you can get a banger house for $200,000. Like, what are you talking? And this is a conversation that they don't want you to have. And it's very, very, very serious. Kevin, I see you commenting there. We're not on that topic. We'll talk about it soon. But this is a conversation that they don't want you to have, right? Like, why can't we have this conversation? Why are we having all these issues with all these housing things, right? So now HUD said, nah. We're going to stop that, okay? And we're going to go away from housing first. So they said, yes, no more housing first. How do we solve this issue? So they're like, okay, well, we have this money for these projects for the homeless. Okay, what is the monies? 4.4, okay, roughly $4.4 billion, right? For homeless initiatives, right? Now, these are for pre-existing programs, but they have $1.4 billion for new initiatives. Now, all of these initiatives and stuff are going to be focused, the new ones are going to be focused towards Christian organizations, okay? Now, why is that? Because we know statistically that if you want a program to actually be successful, the best way to guarantee success long-term is for it to be a faith-based program. This is true across many things, including recovery and addiction, which also is crucial when it comes to homelessness. But people don't want to talk about that. So when we start to have these conversations and we start to talk about things like the continuum of care, which are these different providers that provide essentially the continuum of care, people are the people that provide like block grants, right? They get the money and then they distribute the money. Honestly, I think it should be a direct application to the feds, and then they give you the money directly, because this third middleman bull jive is bull jive, okay? So we're talking about $1.4 billion for new initiatives. Mind you, all of this money has to be filed for by August 26th, okay? August 26th. Here we are. It is, what, a month? We got a month and 6 days, not even, to get these applications and stuff in. So I went to a thing for homelessness, a conversation on homelessness yesterday with our city council president, Miguel Melendez, right? He's hosting this like open forum or whatever the case is. So I'm out there. We're having conversations. They got some little boards out there. Oh, put the dots on the things that you think are the most important issues to address first, or whatever the case is, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay. Like, I'm kind of like, but I'm like, okay, let me participate. Let me see where we can help. Let me see what other type of things we've got going on that we can actually change and make a difference, right? So real quick, hit that like button, hit the share button. It don't cost you nothing, okay? And definitely, if you're not following or subscribed, hit subscribe and follow, okay? So as I'm there at this event, so the people are supposed to talk about what possible solutions are and what their issues are that they're experiencing. So there were three different groups. One was for the ASL, one was for the Spanish speaking people, and one was for the regular American speaking people. Yes, I said American speaking. Okay. American English, the only one true English. Okay. So as we're sitting there, we're having a conversation, we got this. Hold on. As we're sitting there having a conversation, we got this one lady. She's what is she? The legislature person for the 27th district, Rose Bonnick. Okay. She's from Jamaica. Okay. She hasn't lived here her whole life. She doesn't care about our community the way that we care about it. And she only cares about largely what's going to keep her in power. And she's just an aide of Jeremy Cooney, who is our state senator. You explained to me how she is working for our state senator, but she is also in the county ledge. If you don't see that right there is some corruption, malfeasance, and definitely conflict of interest, I don't know what to tell you. Anyway, she's there, okay, and she's like, oh, well, sometimes I find homeless people in my walks, and I just want to be here for whatever the case is to hear, whatever the case is, right? Sounds good, or whatever the case. Okay. So some other people talk, whatever the case is, blah, blah, blah. So I ask a question. I say, okay. I say, listen, I said, the federal government has all of this money coming out, for actual Christian organizations. I said, what is our local continuum of care person doing to engage our actual Christian community that aren't the same 5 organizations that push all of the ideology stuff that they want? And the lady was like, oh, that's not a solution. Let's get back on topic. Da, 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 da. I said, hold on. I said, what do you mean? I think that $1.4 billion is part of a solution. What do you mean? You understand what I'm saying? Straight disrespect. But it's disrespect because I'm Christian, because I'm there representing Christians, real Christians, and everybody else there got on these alphabet stickers talking about heart alphabetism. Okay? I'm not with none of that. Okay? But that's what they promote. That's what they push. And if you don't agree with that ideology, they don't want anything to do with you. And then Rose, in her infinite foreign wisdom, is all like, oh, be quiet or whatever the case. Don't tell me to be quiet when I'm advocating for the issues in my community that I've lived in my whole life that you just came over here for. Like, what are we talking about? You ain't. I don't want to get too upset and in a feeling. You understand what I'm saying? I want to stick to the facts, but it was an affront to me as a member of the faith community, right? So not only are they at me because I'm asking, what are they actually doing to engage the Christian community when there is this money there that they have to apply for in less than a month and nobody knows about it, And they're like, oh, well, that's not an issue. Well, listen, let me ask you a question. If you don't think that it's an issue, if you don't think that $1.4 billion is a part of a solution, if you don't think $4.4 billion is part of a solution, maybe the city of Rochester shouldn't get a nickel, not a dime, not nothing from the federal government. Maybe the federal government should pull back all funding from Rochester, since according to them, that this money isn't part of the solution. Oh, man, make it make sense to me. Make it make sense, And it's very, very concerning. And I got to give some credit to Miguel, right? So Miguel was like, yeah, I told Miguel what this lady, Jen, okay, Jenn, that's her name, okay, that works for city council or whatever, that she was mad, nasty, and disrespectful to me. But it wasn't just me. After that happened to me, there's this gentleman from Heart and Soul Ministry. They're over in the super ultra hood, right? Like they're over there on Conkey and Avenue D. Like they're in the super ultra hood. Okay. Like when you talk about the super ultra hood, like, I mean, like I live in the hood, right? Like it's not necessarily so good where I live. They live in the super ultra max hood. Okay. That's where their ministry is. And she's out here disrespecting this dude because he's saying these are the things that I'm encountering. These are the issues that I'm seeing. And she's straight disrespecting this gentleman and his ministry and what they're engaging with. And all they do is engage with the homeless, right? That's their main ministry, is engaging with the homeless. I'd figure that that dude and his ministry are really the type of people that you want talking. Make it make sense. Then after that, that guy left from heart and soul. He left because she was so nasty and rude to him. And then she disrespected another guy and another old lady. Because again, they didn't fit into those little boxes of ideology that they want. They didn't like the concept of housing first, and they didn't like and these people that work for a city council didn't like the fact that people were saying, oh, we have other issues that we'd like to address in different ways, because they don't fall into those categories of that ideology that they like to boost up and support. They want you to shut up, because that's how they maintain power. It's anti-Christian hate. It is Christianophobia. They wasn't sitting there talking to no Muslims like that. They wasn't sitting there talking to no alphabet people like that. They were only talking to the Christians and disrespecting us like that. The true Christians, not the little people running around with those alphabet hearts on their chest. Make it make sense. Hit the like button, hit the share button. It don't cost you nothing. And make sure you hit the follow and subscribe. So as we're having this conversation, we wonder why there are no real issues addressed in our community, right? Like, we have a homeless problem where the city and the county together spend about $30 million a year. $30 million a year on homelessness. But somehow the homelessness issue gets worse and worse every year. So, I mean, I don't know about you. I'm not saying anybody's stealing the money, but clearly, at least at lowest level, it's definitely going to be the issue is, where are the KPIs, the key performance indicators? What are we doing? What is actually being produced? And how come even with all this money flowing, we have worse and worse problems every year? Make it make sense. Clearly, whatever we're doing so far, it ain't working. You understand what I'm saying? So when the federal government says we've got all this, we got $1 billion for Christian organizations to help with wraparound services for the homelessness issue, maybe we should actually work on engaging them on this issue. You guys, you're currently listening to The Divide on WRFZ, Rochester Free Radio, 106.3 FM. Don't touch that dial. This is The Divide with Marcus C. Williams. We're here in your ear every Monday, 2:30 to 4 p.m. Tell a friend, tell a foe, tell anybody that you know, tune into the show. Now let's jump right back into it. So as we're having this conversation, this shows you that there's an intentional obfuscation, like they're blocking it so you don't know about it, okay, or making it fuzzy so you can't see it, that there's intentional information obfuscation. They don't want us to know that those resources are out there so we can grab them so that we can actually start to address some of these issues. Because if we actually started to address some of these issues and started to lower homelessness, then their friends and their cousins and all of the people that back their campaign wouldn't be getting all the money that they have. You understand what I'm saying? And they might have to do something different. Perish the thought that we actually implement real solutions, because that would be too much like right. That would be too much like right. And of course, they don't want that. You know, and again, I got to go back and I got to say thank you to Miguel. He said he's going to look into it. He's going to talk to me or whatever. So we're going to keep that out there. So I do want to say that, you know, credit where credit's due, but we'll see, you know. So this story isn't done yet. We're going to come back to this probably next week. I'll let you guys know what happened. Now, I want to take, speaking on Christian issues and stuff like that, we've got a lot of issues where they are killing up Christians all across the world, and it's not being talked about that much, right? Like in China, they just closed and burnt down. Let's be very clear. One of the biggest churches, actual churches that they have in China. Okay. Now in China, the government very closely monitors all religious organizations, especially the Christian church. Okay. Because you can't be Christian and be a communist. You can't be Christian and be a socialist. It's antithetical, because socialism and communism are atheists, right? They don't believe at all. The only power is the one power, which is government. And that's not what Christians believe. So that happened in China. and nobody's talking about that. That didn't make the news. They arrested the priest there, the bishop, I believe is a bishop. They arrested the bishop there, and they arrested some other people as well. So this is a very serious issue. Christianity is under attack all across the world, and I just showed you what I had to deal with as a Christian right here in my city, in America, that they are purposefully and intentionally deriding Christians, which doesn't talk about all of the Christian churches that they've been setting on fire and burning down all across our nation, that the churches that have been under attack, that the priests have been beat up, shot, killed, okay, mugged, all types of stuff. Christians are under attack, not just internationally, but inside the United States of America as well. And we need to have that conversation. And if you are a Christian, we need to start standing up and speaking up against the anti-Christian hate. Okay, Christianophobia is real. They'll try to play in your face and say, oh, well, it's not real, while they're slaughtering us. They don't care. They don't care. They won't tell you that anti-Islam is not real. They won't tell you that anti-Semitism isn't real. Okay. They'll even say, oh, well, you know, you can't be against illegal aliens. They won't say that that's not real. But when they're against Christians, then it's okay. That's not happening. Make it make sense, y'all. And this is what we deal with as Christians. We're belittled. We're condescended. They mock our religion. They got all of these people out here talking about they're Christian out here in the freaking pride parade, right? Now, some people say, well, Marcus, that's homophobic or whatever the case is. First of all, the issue isn't even with the homosexuals right now, right? Like the biggest issue is the people that are pushing this transgender nonsense, but that's not even what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is the concept of pride itself, which pride exalteth itself above the Lord, right? Pride is putting yourself above the Lord our Father, okay? It's saying that you know better than God, you know better than everything else, and it doesn't matter what anybody else says, it doesn't matter what the Bible says, it doesn't matter what nature says, that you're going to do what you want because you are the ultimate authority in the universe. That's what pride is about. And that's why pride is a sin. Now you have to ask yourself why they try to associate pride with homosexuality. Why do they push that on alphabet people, right? Ask yourself that. Why do they push pride on alphabet people? That's a conversation we don't have. They just say, oh, well, you know, alphabetism and pride, they go right together. Do they though? Do they? Because it used to be a time where more of the alphabet people were more conservative, and there's still a lot of conservative alphabet people, but they were more to themselves, more humble with their stuff. Now we're loud and we're proud and we're going to march down the street, booty naked, butt plugs and peeing on people and all types of other nonsense. What's that got to do with that, right? That's just debauchery and depravity, okay? That's specialized kinks sexually that have nothing to do with that, right? Again, because it's about self. It's about what makes you feel good. It's not about what's real. It's not about what's factual. It's not about what's part of nature. It's not about what's good for society. It's about what you personally believe you should be able to do for yourself. It's about depravity. It's about debauchery. It's about self-aggrandizement. It's about lifting yourself above the Lord our Father himself. And we got Christians out here marching in the parade, okay? There are Christians marching in the alphabet people parade, talking about there are elected officials. I'm a pastor's son and I'm marching in the parade. How are you a pastor's son and you marching in the alphabet parade? What's wrong with you? Huh? And this is the question, right? Like this goes back to what I said a second ago. The general common thought is, oh, well, it's about alphabetism, right? So if you're a pastor's son and you're out there marching in a parade that you're telling me is about alphabetism, you wrong already to begin with. But when we really dig down into what pride is about, you're marching in a parade, not about alphabetism, but about pride, about anti-Christian nonsense. That's all that pride festivals are about. That's all that pride parades are about. It's about anti-Christian nonsense. It's the inversion of Christ. That's why they have the rainbow with 6 things instead of 7 like a natural rainbow, because 7 is the sign of completion, 6 is the sign of the devil. But can we have that conversation? No, because they automatically have laced the concept of pride directly to alphabetism. And it's not that. It's not that. And I hope that more alphabet people will start to wake up, that this is something nonsensical and evil that has been pushed and thrust to represent them. Because you can't tell me these people up here dressing up like literal demons, got horns, makeup that looks like a demon, and a tail out there in the world marching around talking about we represent gay people, like they represent gay people. Like, you's a dumb fool if you believe that. You believe these drag creatures, okay, that are dressed up like demons represent all alphabet people. Who's a fool? Not me. Okay, they don't represent everybody. Hey, how you doing? I see you. The drag queens don't represent everybody, especially the ones that are out here that are dressed up with horns, devil makeup on, and a tail. Like, what are we doing? Like, what are we doing? Like, not only are they, to start off at the base, clowns, but also they are actively showing you that they are about evil. I mean, if you dress up like a demon, you don't got to tell me twice that you're about evil. Like, I could clearly see that it's about evil, but they'll tell you that, oh, well, you should allow us to celebrate this because it's good and it represents us. Listen, I don't know since when that was a sole thing that represented alphabet people. Maybe it's me, but when I was little, which wasn't too long ago, like, people that were men that wanted to look like women actually tried to look like women. They weren't out here with full beards, 350 pounds, looking like they just went to a kegger last night. I don't know. It's just, is it me? Like, why do we tolerate this nonsense? And this is something that we need to have a conversation about. Where I am, we've got 2 Pride months, you guys. 2, June and July, because they're like, oh, well, historically, Rochester is celebrated Pride Month in July, so we're going to keep doing that. No. June is Pride Month. Let's cut that right off at the kneecap, okay, when it's June, okay? That's done, But no, they want to do it 2 months. Why? Because they are taking conquest for the devil. This is all anti-Christian. This is all demonic, okay? And they're trying to cultivate this concept in the alphabet community so that they don't notice that it's pure evil. Okay? And they're like, yeah, this is associated with you, so you should support it. Why would an alphabet person, somebody that is gay specifically, support a person that is dressed up like a devil going and reading to children? Why would you support that? Even if you're gay, why would you support that, right? Like, that's kind of crazy. Now they've got the whole transgender situation, okay, where they're like, a boy can be a girl and a girl can be a boy, and there are no more gay people because all of the gay people are transgender. Well, wait a second. Hold on. Now you're trying to erase gay people. You're trying to erase homosexuals because you're saying that they can't be homosexual because their whole identity is based on the fact that they're attracted to the same sex. And you're saying that there is no sexes. You're saying that the sexes are all fluid and they don't exist and they're man-made constructs. Make it make sense. Make it make sense, you guys. Okay, drop some comments, drop a thumbs up, drop a heart, say hey, say hi. I'll try to pop you up in the comments. Be part of the conversation. And make sure you hit like and follow. It don't cost you nothing. Now, as we talk about the persecution of Christians internationally, we talked about what was going on in China. But in Nigeria, they are killing up the Christians. And I just saw some crackpot girl on the internet talking about, oh, that's not really happening. No, yes, it is happening. Yes, it is happening. I know people that are there in Nigeria now that are over there doing missionary work that are like, yeah, this is happening and it's real. I know people that are in the Catholic Church that are there that are doing work on the ground, and they're like, yeah, it's super real. When you've got the government of Nigeria saying, listen, Trump, we need help with these Islamists that are killing up all of our people and kidnapping our people and killing up the Christians, something must be serious, you know? But we can't talk about that because they don't want to talk about that. It's really, 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 really a serious issue. We also have a number of issues in Pakistan right now where they've been doing forced conversions. They just killed somebody over the weekend, and who knows how many other ones, right? Like, that's only the story that got out. So they killed somebody over the weekend because they refused to convert in Pakistan. So this is Pakistan, one of our greatest allies, you know. But so, yeah, so this is a problem. So apparently the EU is putting some pressure on them in Pakistan about that or whatever. I don't trust the EU because they let all of those Muslims and Islamists into their countries, and they're causing terror and havoc and rape gangs, and they're killing people and all types of craziness. And when we talk about the Muslims that they've let in, right? They've let in a lot of African Muslims, but a lot of the people that are causing the biggest issues are the Saracen people, right? So what are the Saracen people? The Saracens are the Muslims from the Sand countries, okay? So all the people that you would consider to be Arab, that's the Saracens. The Pakistanis, they're a little different. They're like mountain people, Pakistan, Afghanistan, them type of people, Iran. Those are the Persians, right? But the Saracens are from all those other sand countries. If it's got sand, probably a Saracen nation, okay? And the Saracens have always been hostile to the West. They have always been hostile to Christianity. And I don't know why we're sitting here playing and acting like they are not hostile to our people. Why can't we have a real serious conversation about that? You know, this is the problem. We can't have a whole conversation about these real serious issues that we're experiencing on a daily basis. You got to make it make sense because they don't want to. We could talk about the religious crackdown on the churches in Latin America right now, specifically Nicaragua. And if you guys follow my show for some time, you know I talk about Nicaragua at least once or twice a month. It's serious in Nicaragua, what's going on between the Chinese and what's going on with the Christians. It's real serious. So in Nicaragua, they've been cracking down on a lot of the church leaders and confiscating church property and burning down churches and stuff like that. This is the government out there. And not to mention just the government, just people that are there that are terrorizing the Christians. So when are we going to have that conversation? When can we talk about that? Do we need to send paratroopers back to Nicaragua? Maybe we do. Okay. I've been in support of taking over Nicaragua for a while. That's a whole nother conversation for a whole nother episode. But I got some serious plans as far as that goes strategically, geopolitically for the United States, them and Belize. But Belize, we should buy Belize. That's a whole separate conversation. We're not going to talk about that today. But so we've got that. We've got the continued seizure of properties of churches in Tehran that are underground churches and stuff like that. They've been seizing people and killing them and stuff like that. So this is in Iran. We're in military conflict with them right now, right? So, and that doesn't even include Syria, who is supposed to be one of our other allies in the Middle East. But the guy that's the president there now used to be head of the Taliban. Like, I don't know how he could even come to America. If it was up to me, that guy would be put in a pine box. You know, we probably wouldn't even put him in a box. We probably let him out in the ocean and see if he sinks. Put some rocks in his gullet or something. Like, it's ridiculous to me, the stuff that we allow to go on and be done to Christians, and then we just tolerate these people. No, because if it happened to them, then it would be a problem. And it's always a problem. It's very upsetting. But anyway, so those are some of the things that are going on there. I'd like to touch, and the plot continues, right? Because we could talk about what's going on in Bangladesh. We can talk about West Bangladesh, really. But we could talk about what's going on there or in India with them doing all types of crazy stuff, persecuting Christians and stuff like that. But, you know, hey, it's kind of crazy. They don't want to talk about the forced conversions over there. So anyway, let's talk about the Philippines. And we're going to go into another topic. So in the Philippines and the Indo-Pacific, China has continued to increase their footprint and their foothold over there in those areas. And what is it causing? A whole bunch of destability, right? Now we have to wonder, what is the end goal there with the whole concept of what they're doing, right? Because China's got a serious issue right now, and I don't think a lot of people are paying attention. They've got a lot of people online right now that are like, oh, I'm an influencer, I'm going to China. Look, China showed me all of these shiny things, all of these nice things. China's so great, China's so awesome, this, that, and the third, da, 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 da. It's not true. It's all a scam. It's all a front. Okay. So they put up this front, they show you some of the nicer things, but they don't let you go to the other areas. They don't let you know and understand that majority of the people there, the unemployment rate is so high that it's ridiculous. And that's after China has changed the way that they calculate their unemployment rate, which says that now as long as you work 1 hour a week, you're not unemployed. And that's wild. So that's the thing that's going on in China, mass unemployment. They don't have enough women to have enough children, and they got too many men. And traditionally, if there was a situation like that, they just start a war, like any type of war. They'd go in and they'd try to take over a place, and then they'd lose a lot of men. And then that solves the problem, because if you have a whole bunch of unemployed men, you're very likely to have a whole bunch of unemployed men on the street of your capital trying to overthrow the government. So we're going to see what ends up happening right now, because I don't know that they're going to be able to stand up against the CCP, but it's not looking very good. So with the CCP trying to extend its foothold in the Indo-Pacific and in the so-called South China Sea, with the Philippines and with Japan and stuff like that, they might intentionally start a war. I don't know that they're going to go to war with Taiwan, but maybe they might intentionally start a war. They've got nothing to lose. Like, I feel like this is a concept that a lot of people don't understand, is when it comes to a country like that is a communist country, a socialist country, a lot of their I guess you would say their standpoint is to focus on how they can control their people. Like, you should see their police budget is bigger than their military. I believe it's 3 times bigger than their military. Don't quote me on that. But the police budget for China is bigger than its military budget. Why? Because they want to keep their own people under control, and it's crazy. So, since a lot of the construction jobs have dried up over there, and they've had a lot of other issues with the manufacturing economy starting to dry up over there because of all the different tariffs from a number of different countries. So we'll see what ends up happening. There's just a ton of unemployed people, and unemployed, unspoused. Like, it's a serious, serious, serious problem. It's a serious problem. So I see that they very might possibly start some sort of military engagement in the near future. Okay. I don't know where, I don't know what, but it looks very, very likely in order for them to stay in power. Okay. Otherwise, they're going to have a mess quell. And I don't know that they're able to do that. We watched kind of what happened during COVID. So they lost quite a few people during COVID intentionally. But those were mainly their elders, and their whole social security it's a pension system over there, not really social security, but their whole pension system over there is slated to go into collapse by 2035 because it's just got too many elderly people on it. I don't know that that's going to actually happen. I figure they'll find a way to kill most of them off, but this is a serious, serious issue. Now, I'd like to talk about the immigration issue and the illegal aliens and stuff like that. So in the U.S., like I said, if you were listening earlier, please first hit the thumbs up, hit the like button, hit the heart, drop some comments, drop an American flag in the comments, okay? Drop a thumbs up in the comments. It don't cost you nothing. I see a ton of people watching. Drop some good comments, drop some thumbs up, drop some emojis, hit the subscribe button, hit the follow button. It don't cost you nothing. So, like I said, I went to a meeting with these city council people and people in the orbit around city council. And somebody was talking to me. They're like, oh, man, I don't like the way that you talk about the illegal aliens. I said, what? I said, what do you mean? Look at me, y'all. If y'all on the radio, y'all don't see me. Look, I'm black, okay? I am Black American, okay? I'm black 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, all the years of my life until I'm dead. You understand what I'm saying? Okay? So I've been black my whole life, right? Like, who are you talking to, illegal aliens? Where do they put the illegal aliens? In the black community, in the Puerto Rican community. And you're out here telling me about you're in the Puerto Rican community talking to me about the illegal aliens. What are you talking to me about the illegal aliens when they're taking away resources from the Puerto Rican community that you're in right now? Stop playing in my face. Then I'm black and they're out here in our neighborhoods. They got a whole street not too far from where I am, right? We're not far from the hood, okay? So they got a whole street over there. All of them is illegal. Where is ICE? Come get all of them, okay? So this is a problem, okay? Not only are they taking housing from our people, they're taking resources from our people, medical from our people. They're taking schooling, educational resources from our people. They're taking, food stamps and other welfare from our people. Like all of this stuff that's supposed to go to our citizens. And you mad at me because I want to prioritize American citizens? I care about everybody. But there has to be priorities. If your house is on fire, you want to put your house out before you put your neighbor's house out around the corner, right? Like, these are the priorities that we have to have, and people have to wake up. If we are in America, we need to prioritize Americans. Those other people, they got their other countries. They can go back wherever they came from. Okay, let their own people take care of them. We don't got nobody to take care of us. We can't go to no other country and get no free stuff. Okay? Where can Americans go so we can have the possibility of a better quality of life and get a whole bunch of free stuff? Explain it to me. Drop it in the comments. If there is such a place, drop it in the comments. There's no place like that. It doesn't make any sense. You know? So they sit here and they play in our face. Oh, the illegal aliens. Oh, don't call them illegal aliens. They're immigrants. No, they're not immigrants. That is disrespectful to every single person that has come here and immigrated the legal way. Don't bunch them together. Then they bunch them together with the refugees also. But they bunch them together with the refugees and they take the resources from the refugees. Like, what are we talking about? It's despicable. It's despicable. You know, anybody can just jump to the front of the line and take the spot. Ridiculous. But you know who else has issues with that? Africa. Right now, if you look in places like South Africa and Ghana, they're trying to kick out all the Nigerians. That's hilarious to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, they are actually mobbing in the street of South Africa and Ghana right now. Go look it up. Don't believe me because I'm saying it. Believe me because I'm telling you. Go look it up. Now, in Ghana, they've got roving droves of people that are mob protesting against all of the Nigerians, trying to get the Nigerians out of there. They said there are over 150,000 Nigerians that have wormed their way into Ghana, and it's collapsing parts of their economy and their housing and their other resources. It's real serious. In South Africa, there are huge anti-immigrant or anti-illegal alien protests that are going on there. It has become a diplomatic emergency. There are evacuations into neighboring nations. And the neighboring nations are not happy about that because they don't want the Nigerians either. And it's not just the Nigerians, it's other people. But good on Ghana and good on South Africa for trying to get rid of these people. That's what we need to be doing in the United States of America. We need to be out there mass protesting to get rid of these illegal aliens. They know what time it is in Africa, in South Africa. They know what time it is in Ghana. They mass protesting to get rid of these people. Why aren't we mass protesting in the U.S. to get rid of them? We know what serious issue is going on here. Make it make sense. Somebody said cancel welfare and they'll go home. So now in relation to that, there's a very interesting thing. Let me blow my nose. In relation to that, there's a very interesting thing that's just happened. Apparently, they're trying to make it so that the, I guess you would say the banking system doesn't accept any illegal aliens into the banking system. So that's going to be interesting. It's also kind of concerning to me, right? Because the more stringent things that they have to put on them, that means it's going to impact us as citizens. And honestly, it's upsetting and frustrating. Yet another reason why we got to get rid of all these illegal aliens, because they're putting all of these things in place to counteract the illegal aliens when we wouldn't have to put none of this in place if it wasn't for the illegal aliens. It's that simple. So I'm kind of concerned about that. I'm kind of concerned about them debanking the illegal aliens. Not that I'm concerned about them themselves, but concerned about the fact that if they do that, that they're going to do that to us. We've talked about on other episodes debanking and stuff like that. But now this is going to require more shows of identity and stuff like that and more rigorous things. And I'm concerned that that's going to give more leverage to the government and give more I don't know if I want to say oversight or authority to the government that they don't currently have, but it's a real serious thing and people need to be mindful of what's going on. Somebody said in the New York State, they can even get driver's licenses and stuff like that. Yeah, they can get driver's licenses and they can get driver's licenses with real ID. I was just with a guy the other day. Okay. He's from, what do you call it? He's from India. He ain't got no business here, but that's his whole own conversation. Anyway, so he's got a real ID. Explain it to me how he has a real ID when real IDs are only supposed to be for American citizens. Isn't that what they told us? How did he get a real ID? He's got the little circle and the star on it and everything. Explain that to me like I'm 5. New York State did this. New York State. What are they doing to us as citizens? What have they done to us? Despicable, vile, evil. It's so upsetting. And this is part of the problem that people aren't understanding. And people were like, Trump came out last week talking about, oh, the elections and this was a problem and China was interfering in our elections and they had all these fake IDs and they had people voting and they had all these fake ballots and stuff like that. I really wasn't trying to hear what Trump was on about because you ain't putting nobody in jail. So stop talking to me. You understand what I'm saying? He got on the TV and he told me everything that I knew already, but limited a lot of the stuff that I also know about what's going on with that, right? So how are you going to tell me, oh, all of this happened with our elections? I don't want to hear that. I want you to arrest people. I want indictments. I want people in prison. I want to see court cases. You understand what I'm saying? Personally, I'd like to see public executions, but that's its whole own conversation. Can somebody go to jail? Can somebody go to prison over this malfeasance that was done in the 2020 election? And it's not just the 2020 election. The 2022 election was worse than the 2020 election. You understand what I'm saying? One was just on a higher level because it was for president. It's ridiculous. You know, it's a serious problem. Drink water, stay hydrated. Hit the like button, hit the share button. It don't cost you nothing. Let me blow my nose. It's very dusty in here today. Excuse me. So somebody says they wanted to get rid of Black Americans in the 80s. They didn't just want to get rid of Black Americans in the 80s. They want to get rid of Black Americans now. That's why they're trying to water us down, talking about, oh, you should be accepting of all the other melanated people that are in the country. I'm not accepting of none of them. Who is accepting of Black Americans? None of them is accepting of Black Americans. You go to their country, they ain't messing with you. The Jamaicans don't want us in Jamaica. The Haitians don't want us in Haiti. Okay? What do you mean? The Africans don't want us in Africa. They over here scamming Black Americans in Africa like it's fun, like it's sport. And you talking about, oh, well, we should be accepting them. What have they ever done for Black Americans? You name one thing that foreign melanated people have done for Black Americans in America. Make it make sense. Don't tell me that these people are people that we should have similar causes to. They don't have similar causes to us. They care about themselves. That's it. They care straight about themselves. And I am not mad that they care about themselves. Don't get it twisted. I'm just saying we should care about ourselves as Americans and as Black Americans the same way that these foreigners care about themselves, okay? Don't try to BIPOC me, okay? Black, indigenous people of color. Them people ain't like me. Them people ain't like my lineage. Them people ain't like my family, okay? Them people ain't go through the same stuff that we had to go through with slavery, with discrimination, with the American greatness and excellence with Black America that we've had, the amazing accomplishments that Black Americans have had. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is a watering down of our history, our heritage, and our lineage. Now, whenever you see Black History Month, they want to make it all red, black, and green, all African, and Africa ain't got nothing to do with Black Americans. It started off as Negro History Week. Can I say that again? Negro History Week. Ain't got nothing to do with no Africans, ain't got nothing to do with no continent of Africa. That is not our people. And they're like, oh, well, they brought Africans over from on slave ships. Slave ships where? See, this shows me that you don't know anything about the slave trade in the United States of America. But more than the slave trade itself, you don't know anything about slavery. You understand what I'm saying? So most Black Americans, okay, 96% of Black Americans are American Indian, okay? Are American Indian. They'll say, oh, well, Native American, not Native American, American Indian, because the treaties are with American Indians, not Native Americans. That's another part of the erasure of history. Don't get it twisted. I got a whole bunch of beef with the Smithsonian. That's another conversation. My family is Cherokee from Georgia, okay? We didn't go on the Trail of Tears when they put us on reservations, so they reclassified our whole family. And if you look into the reclassification of the Negro, you will see this through wedding documents, through property documents, and all of this. We still have this history today that you can go look up. You can go look it up on the internet right now. But no, they'll teach you, they'll say, oh, well, you know, everybody's from Africa, except the African slave trade was very teeny to actual America. Now, you want to talk about the Caribbean or Brazil or other places, that's a whole nother conversation. But if we're talking in the continental United States and you look at the documents and the stuff from the first settlers here, all up and down the East Coast, they say that they look like the people that were what? The copper colored people. That's why where the word colored comes from. It's short for the copper colored people, the indigenous peoples of America. So when these people are like, oh, well, you should be all with these people, who these people? Who these people? These people ain't my people. Okay. They're not my people. Don't try to erase my people saying that we should say, oh, well, they're Black too. They're not Black. Somebody told me, oh, well, they can be culturally Black. What the flying monkey's uncle is culturally Black? Can I be culturally Chinese and be a Black American? Who's stupid? Don't play in my face. It's about heritage and lineage. The lineation matters. We got to stop this nonsense that they got these people tethering to Black Americans, okay? Because it's the erasure of Black America. They've done the same thing to the whites. Don't get it twisted. They've done the exact same things to the whites. It just happened later with the whites. So that started to happen after the 50s. So that's a whole nother longer conversation. I want to talk about a couple of other issues here. Somebody said, since USA aid was defunded, rap hasn't been topping the charts. They said it's CIA programming, you know, and they're not wrong. A lot of it has been CIA programming. Hello, we found out that Sexy Red was getting paid by the CIA. Can we talk about that? Can we talk about that? Sexy Red was getting paid by the CIA. We know so was Snoop Dogg. Hello, can we have a conversation about that? Come on now. But, you know, anything to actually talk about what's going on in our country is too much like right. And we talk about that and people might be like, oh, well, what about this? What about that? Let me explain something to you. I need you to understand what the government and what the CIA and what the people in power are doing to Black America. So when you see it happening to other Americans, like white Americans, that you can identify the same type of thing. You know, like it's really, really, really problematic. I was explaining to somebody the other day, I said, listen, I said, they came after Black Americans, but they dislike the trailer trash people the same way they dislike Black Americans. Okay. They dislike the Native Americans on reservations the same way they dislike Black Americans. You understand what I'm saying? They've gone after the trailer park people. They've gone after the reservation people the same way with the same tools that they've gone after Black Americans. So y'all need to wake up because it's only a matter of time before they use those tools on you. But that's too much of a real conversation, you know. That's too much like right. Anyway, there's some other stuff I want to talk about. Give me 1 second. It's really dusty in here today. Okay. So we've got a whole bunch of stuff that's been going on with Trump and Basant. And Basant is the head of the Department of Treasury, and even Stephen Miller. I saw him on the TV the other day. I don't know what it is about him. Something about him just rubs me wrong. Maybe he's autistic or something like that. I can't quite put it. Something. He doesn't have a personality or something. I don't know. Something's not right. Like he lacks a person. I can't put my finger on it, but he's not like most of the people that lack a person. He's something else. He's something different. So anyway, I found myself agreeing with him the other day. Actually, he says a lot of stuff that I'm like, people say so much crazy about him, but a lot of the stuff that he says makes a lot of sense. So I am still waiting to hear the stuff that is not made sense on. So to the Treasury, because I don't know why I like Basant. I really was thinking I'm not going to like Basant. He's got money, he had a good education. He went to Ivy League schools. Did he go to Ivy League? I don't know. What's that school? Wharton? Yeah, I don't know if that's considered Ivy League. But anyway, so Basant, the head of the Treasury, said that they're going after nonprofits and tax-exempt organizations, as well as foreign financial, I guess you call them foreign financial conduits that are suspected of funding the far left violence and stuff like that they've been propagating and agitating throughout our nation, which is really interesting, And I wish that they'd come here to Rochester, because we got more than a couple of these nonprofits here, and the DSA and the RNN, whatever they call it, the Rochester Rapid Response Network people, and all of these people. They're anti-American destabilizers, okay? They hate our country. And they'll say, oh, well, no, they don't. They're not about that. They actually care. And they really don't. They want to tear down our nation. And you ask yourself, why do they want to tear our nation down? Well, because they want to replace it with socialism and communism and anarchism, depending on who you're talking to. So the DSA, the Democratic Socialists of America, we're just talking about their new platform, right? Well, what is on the DSA's new platform? They want to abolish the Senate. That's bananas to me, right? Because they're like, oh, well, everybody should have equal representation. Well, everybody has equal representation in the Senate. Each state has 2 votes, right? Like, that's the only one that's like that. Like, the House of Representatives is by population, which is realistically not as representative as the Senate, because that is the concept of people having an overpowering vote. So when the socialists say, oh, well, we want to get rid of the Senate, the problem is they want to get rid of the Senate because they know that if there is more people and less people, if you can't see, I'm doing 2 hands on the radio, you guys. So if you take them and you give them both equal representation, one doesn't really outweigh the other. They don't want that. They want to sway the masses. They want to sway the mob so that they can have undue influence, and it's easier for them to push stuff through. That's what they want. They want to deconstruct, or whatever they want to call it, destroy our country from within. You got to watch out for these people. And I was talking to somebody the other day, and they're like, oh, the DSA doesn't want that. And then the DSA dropped their new platform. I'm like, see, they believe exactly what I said they've been believing for years. They want to replace the presidency and the Supreme Court with a whole group of people, and like a independent judiciary and independent executive level governance that is a group of different people that they all are in control of, like a ruling elite, to hold power in this one area in the judiciary and the executive branch, like a mob, to control everything over all the people, like they do in Cuba and other countries, socialist countries, like China, like it's really serious. It's really serious. They want to limit the Electoral College, and there are reasons for that some people will agree with, but realistically, I really dug into it one time. It's a bad idea to eliminate the Electoral College. I have to do a separate episode or something on that, because that's a really long conversation. The problem is right now with the Electoral College, you can win a state and not get the electoral votes, because the Electoral College do not necessarily have to give the votes to the people. that won the popular vote, and they can vote independently for themselves, which thereby kind of waters down your representation as an individual. But that's a whole much longer conversation. Okay. It's a bad idea to get rid of the electoral college. For years, I thought that it was, but now seeing the direction of the country that it's going, it's not a good idea. But there is a group that is trying to make, I forget what the group is called, but essentially what they're trying to do is get a compact signed by all of these different states to award their electoral votes to whoever wins the majority vote in their state. So that way they can easily have essentially abolish it, right? Like that's what their whole concept is there. Now, they also want to basically abolish the army. So this is kind of wild. So they want to abolish the army. They want to abolish police forces. And they want to establish it with one kind of, new thing, which is like a federal government controlled policing, federal government prison system. They're saying it's not like what it is now, but you're creating a police state. What do you think it's going to be like? Like, who are you playing with? Whose face are you playing with? They want to get rid of, and again, they want to get rid of the military. So it's like, we are going to defund the military. What? To let all of our enemies come in and get us? These are the same people that say, oh, America's mean to all these other people. Yeah, duh. I know that. You know that. America's mean to all these other people. Okay. America's mean to all these other people. So you think that if we all of a sudden get rid of our military, these people that we've been mean to are going to change their mind and now all of a sudden they're going to be nice to us? Who's stupid? They're going to invade us the first second that they get. We've already got people penetrating inside our country right now, like China or historically Russia. Russia probably to a much lower degree right now than it was during the Cold War. But, like, hello, somebody wake up. It's crazy. They want universal amnesty, whatever the heck that means. Basically, they want to give everybody that's here illegally amnesty, okay, so that they can be a United States citizen. But the worst thing than that, what they're trying to push is they're trying to say that they don't want any citizenship, that everybody is a global citizen, so they shouldn't need any of it. So basically obliterating immigration, and it's really, really kind of crazy. Now, with that also, they want to, and this to me is really interesting. So they want to put in this thing with civil regulations where they're abolishing any restrictions on marriage, which is weird because what even do you mean, right? Like if a man can now marry, I'm using air quotes, y'all. If a man can now marry another man, if a woman can now marry another woman, if you can marry your cousin, what do you mean that you're abolishing the restrictions on marriage? You're going to let women marry dogs? Like, hello? Like, what are we doing? What are we doing here? You want women to marry dogs and animals and beasts and stuff like that? Is that what you're talking about? What do you mean you're removing restrictions on marriage? What does that even mean? Right? And then you have to ask these people and challenge them to define exactly, specifically what they mean, because they'll say stuff that sounds so good, but when they put it into process, it's really terribly bad. They also go in, they want public ownership of industry. That means no more private ownership of anything, right? So that means if you have your own business, no, you don't. The government owns your business, okay? That means that if you work for a company, no, you don't. You work for the government. And that's wild because once they do that, then there is no stopping them doing anything else because they control the means of production. And that's what they've always said that they want. We want to control the means of production. But if they control the means of production, that means that the government controls you. Wake up, okay? Don't fall for these shenanigans. They've also said that they want a wealth tax and they want a 32-hour-a-week work week. Now, I want you to go research this, right? Don't believe me because I'm saying it. Believe me because I'm telling you. Go research what socialist or communist country has ever had a 32-hour work week. Nonsense. Okay, nonsense. You look at the Chinese, they 16 on 6. Okay, 6 days a week, 16 hours a day. Okay, you look at North Korea. Okay, similar thing. You look at Cuba. If you got a job, you understand what I'm saying? You work until your fingers bleed. Like, what are we talking about? Like, we're not being serious here. 32 hours a week work week. Where is the money going to come from, y'all? The government's just going to print coupons? Like, what is this? Like, what is your long-term goal? How are you going to sustain this? They don't have any solutions. Okay, they're just going to deteriorate our country, sell you false ideas that sound good, and it's going to be a problem. It's going to be a serious, serious problem. They don't care because they know that people will bite and they'll buy it. You know, I just, it frustrates me bad because seeing that they want to deteriorate the Constitution reminds me how many people think that our government is a democracy and not a republic. We are a republic, people. We're a constitutional republic. And they'll say, oh, well, you know, we're a form of democracy. No, we're not. Not even a little bit. Don't let them sell you that lie. This is from decades of them whittling away and trying to change language and massage words and stuff like that. That's why I'm so hard up on different words and how you phrase stuff. It's very, very important to me because this is the type of stuff that we see that happens. The more they manipulate language, the more they call things that they're not. The same thing with the illegal aliens. Okay, they want to call them immigrants. They're not immigrants. I'm not about to let you massage the language there either. You know, the more they want to be like, oh, well, everybody that's melanated is black. I'm not going to let you play with the language there either. But the more they play with the language, the more they can convince you of something that's not real. It's called double think. And they also practice double speak too. Go look that up. So as we talk about our country, they're trying to make us have mob rule. Okay, mob rule is where the voice of the many overpowers the voice of the few. A republic is where the voice of the few has protected rights. That's why we have a Bill of Rights. So for them to do what they want, they're going to have to get rid of the Bill of Rights. Y'all better wake up. These socialists here, these democratic socialists of America, are trying to get rid of our Bill of Rights. That's what they're saying out loud. Come on now. You know, we got to hold them accountable. We got to get them to tell the truth, to shame the devil. People don't see it. And why is it like this right now? Because people are mad. People are mad. They say, oh, well, you know, the government isn't working for us, so we got to do something else. We got to do something else. No, this is not the way. I agree. I think that the government should have been, is like spoiled tea. It should have been, the pot should have been tipped over and poured out a long time ago. Okay? But it doesn't mean that we go to socialism. Like, y'all done lost your mind. But it sounds good. So they've sold it to a lot of people. They're like, oh, well, what do they say? Oh, capitalism is bad. Capitalism is bad. You know, the longer you repeat a lie, the more it sounds like reality, right? Who said that? Hitler? The more you repeat a lie, I think that was Hitler that said that. You know, and it's crazy because this is what these people practice over and over and over again. You know, it's really, really, really problematic. It's the illusion of truth, right? If they sell you this over and over again, eventually people are gonna be like, yeah. And I believe that is you got to look into Joseph Goebbels. Okay, he was basically the head of the Nazi propaganda. That dude was an amazing genius, terrifyingly a genius, right? Like the stuff that he did in the propaganda that he made, fantastically terrifying. And we have to understand that because that's the same method and the means that they're using right now against us in America. You know? So the most effective way to get somebody to believe something is to tell the same lie over and over and over again. Like America is a democracy. We are not now, nor have we ever been a democracy. Our founders specifically said that they don't want a democracy because that's mob rule. And if we have mob rule, that people are going to get swept up in nonsense and they're going to be disenfranchised. But, you know, it's hard to convince a lot of people about this very core truth in our country right now. If we're going to save our nation, we're going to have to start to stand up, because people don't like what's going on. People aren't happy with what's going on. People are upset. The government's not working the way that we want it. We see a lot of issues going on right now. Largely, I talked about this, I want to say last week or the week before, about how we've lied with college and we promise all of these people jobs. Now they're getting out of here with all of these jobs, all of these degrees, and they can't get a good job. So of course they're mad, rightfully so. They're very mad, you know. But the solution isn't socialism. So you might say, well, Marcus, well, what is the solution? Well, we have to look at the age and the time that we're in, right? We're in this place where we've got all of this automation, where we've got all of this AI, where we've got all of this stuff kind of crescendoing all at the same time. So we've got to see where we can maximize the potential to take advantage of that. One of the big things that have been done right now under this administration is pushing reshoring of manufacturing to the United States. If we make our own goods, we don't have to be so reliant on foreign partners. More people can get more jobs, can be employed, or more money stays inside the country, right? So that's one thing that's good. Another thing that's good is the current administration has tried to put in like this concept of a sovereign wealth fund. First, they were trying to do that with the tariffs, and then these crazy people, large corporations, sued to try to get the tariffs removed. And who did that help? Nobody. Who did that help? That didn't help nobody but their pockets. Like, people are like, oh, we're against big industry. We're against capitalism. They're like, get rid of the tariffs. Are you stupid? Are you dumb? Like, are you? Like, you want to get rid of the tariffs, which are only helping the big companies, not the little mom and pop store that you've been telling me that the tariffs are really impacting. You understand? Like, so this is the nonsense and the chicanery, and it's a very, very big problem. It's a very, very big problem. And as we see what's going on right here, right now, I pray that we're able to start a sovereign wealth fund, really, actual sovereign wealth fund, because if we can, then we don't have to worry so much about where the money's going to come from, because then we could provide possibly a general basic income, okay, a universal basic income. Because I know some people are going to be like, oh, well, that's going to be bad. That's not good. Listen, we don't have much of any choices. We have to look at the reality in front of us and see how we're going to be able to move forward, okay? The best way is a sovereign wealth fund, which will enable our people to not have to work. Like you got Saudi Arabia, or you got the UAE, or you got, what's the other country? Qatar, where almost all of the people there, they don't work, okay? Because they don't need to. They only work if they want to. And most of the people that are working there anyway are foreigners. So these are serious conversations that we need to have that people aren't talking about. How can we preserve the financial structure for our future? But this is why at the same time, you've got all of these socialists and communists coming in that are saying, oh, well, we've got the solutions. Now, if you're listening on the radio, make sure that you tune in next week. If you're listening online, hold tight. I'm coming back. You guys tune in every Monday, 2:30 to 4 p.m. I'll catch you guys later. Be blessed and be well. And remember, stand up, speak up, and don't shut up. Take action. So, you guys, as we have this conversation online, okay, we have a lot of stuff that's going on really, really fast in our country. And not enough people are paying attention. If we don't, it's okay. I see you there. It's okay if you were late. I'm going to do a replay later. You can catch it later, catch the whole thing, or go back and replay it. But as we talk about everything that's going on, the plan for a structure of our future, please do not fall into the concept of the socialists that they have the answer. They do not. It is an ultimate threat to our nation, to our sovereignty, and to our way of life. Okay, they're selling you a false bill of goods that they can't deliver on. Okay, it's a serious issue, and I'll explain to you why. In socialism, everything in socialism leads to communism. That's the whole point. Socialism is a philosophy, communism is the economic way, and the what do you call it? And the form of government, right? So when you have that, you have to say, okay, well, what happens in a communist thing? Well, at the top, there's this ruling elite class that you can never break through, that you can never get to, that never really changes. It stays forever unless there's a coup or something. And we see that everywhere it has ever been implemented. We see it in Vietnam. We see it in China. We see it in North Korea. Okay. We see it in all of these places it's ever been instituted. We saw it in Russia, right? When Russia was the USSR. Okay. We saw it in a number of different of the satellite states, still in Kazakhstan and Kyrgyzstan, right? Like, can we have those conversations? Like, we have the evidence right there, right in front of us, but they don't want to have those conversations, because if we do have those conversations, then more people will wake up. They'll say, oh, we have all the answers and all the solutions. They got nothing for you. They got absolutely zero. They got goose egg, okay? Because when you start to question them, you start to really dig into numbers, you start to really dig into dollars and cents. They give you some verbose, big language talk where they talk around you with nothing tangible for you to take home. Okay? That's really what we're looking at. And it's really, really a serious issue. And I'll tell you in closing what we can do about it. What can we do about these charlatans, which are calling themselves socialists or democratic socialists? We as the people can stand up and say, we're not going to have that. We're not going to allow this. This is antithetical. It is against the principles and philosophies of America. And we can stand up. We can push back. We can run for office. We can engage others that are running for office to help good candidates. We ourselves can start taking more participation in government more serious. It is our civic duty, but more than that, it is us preserving our nation for the future generations, or maybe even for yourself. Maybe you don't have kids. Maybe you don't care about the future generations. But if you don't care about yourself, maybe you're just a nihilist. But if you do care about yourself, we have to address this now. Because if they get in power, if they gain more power, they're going to be the only ones in power forever. Okay. If you say something they don't like, if you think something they don't like, if you go a place that they don't like, they're going to shut you down on everything, just like they do in China right now. Okay. Look at the Chinese social credit score. Don't believe me because I'm saying it. Believe me because I'm telling you. Now go look it up. I'll catch you guys later. Remember to hit like, share, subscribe, drop some comments below. Every comment helps the algorithm. I'll catch you guys. Be blessed, be well. And remember, stand up, speak up, and don't shut up. Take action.